G'day, everyone. Welcome to Not
I'm the one to say that.
You get to say it as well. This is Justin Hillier. Introduce yourself, Justin.
G'day. I get to say like a proper Australian, though. G'day, everyone. That is ridiculous. I do say g'day a lot. I am. You now take over. This is already silly.
Okay. So Justin and I met 3 and a bit years ago in a castle in the Cotswolds on the movement. And yeah, it was a good laugh all week.
We're supposed to be going from silly to serious, and you go to that.
Exactly. So this random meeting spawned this fantastic company, Recruiter Insider. So full disclosure here, guys. We're not selling Recruiter Insider because I'm actually part of the board and the company as well. So I've been working with Justin over these last 3 years. When I get to Melbourne, which is not this year.
We're not allowed to leave, and you're not allowed here either.
No. So good morning, everyone. Morning, Tracy, Alan. G'day. Well, that was a better one. Please tell me I'm not the one who thought it. Thought what, Alan? I'm not sure.
G'day.
Morning, Natalie. Morning, Dave. We're a friendly bunch in here, as you can tell, Justin. So I wanted to get you on the stand-up because this year, the data that you've been coming out with, I get so confused when I'm over there. The information that you've been getting based around the candidate experience is just phenomenal and really helpful for recruiters, managers of business, anyone that has any link with the candidate. Critical to know what's going on in their heads, what they're doing, and what's important to them. And then, of course, the company flipped it to the client as well. So we've got loads to talk about. So first and foremost, just give a little bit of background as to who you are and how you got into Recruiter Insider, and I'll shut up now. Yeah,
how I got into Recruiter Insider. That is actually quite a story. So I founded this business, just over 4 years ago. I've been in recruitment now for 20-something years, doing various things as a recruiter and working in different technology businesses. But this business, ironically, actually came about because a recruiter called me, and quite frankly, it was the worst call of all time. They picked up the phone, told me they found my profile on LinkedIn and wanted to talk to me about a job. Now, I assume everyone on this session here is a recruiter, right?
Yeah.
So
recruitment, yeah.
The next approach they did is what spawned this business. They told me, even though they picked up the phone and told me, I found you on LinkedIn, I got a job, that I was too senior for it already. I hadn't even got a word out yet, which, as you'll go for the next 20 minutes or so, I like to talk. So for me not to get a word in to start with is kind of bizarre. But they then told me, again, before I got any words out, that I wasn't going to be happy with the salary either.
Great pitch.
Excellent work. I actually thought it was a mate of mine getting one of his consultants to prank me until I qualified the call further, and no, she was a real recruiter. So I was just unbelievably frustrated out of the back of that call, sat on it for the next 12 hours because I just couldn't put it down. It frustrated me to death. Truth be told, I didn't want to stay in recruitment at the time. I was actually out. I was out. I wasn't working. So that call was like, okay, I'll accept your call. You didn't send me an email, which I thought was awesome. But I had the cliche light bulb moment the next morning, designed the platform in my head in 30 seconds, and then stood there and said, nah, this isn't my problem to solve. But I couldn't help myself. Designed it, went through with it, met Angela. We built the product. We've been out now for 2.5 years.
Fantastic. So I'm so glad that you did build the product because it's given us so much information to be able to do that. So quick flash of your logo or your screen there so people know who you are. We've put your...
I moved the boxes out of the way. So
there we go. So that's Recruiter Insider.
That's Recruiter Insider.
There we go. So that's the sales pitch. That's it, guys. No. So the LinkedIn profile is there if you want to do it. So let's get into the data then, that this year, because you've been in lockdown as well, and Melbourne went into serious lockdown a month ago.
We're still in serious lockdown.
Exactly, yes. You've had chance to actually really dig into all of this data because you're usually traveling here, there and everywhere, all over the place. And obviously you can't. So let's start with the process. So the Recruiter Insider takes you all the way through the recruitment process. So where is it at the moment that consultants are mostly losing track and losing control of that recruitment process?
Well, there's really two spots. There's one that's bleedingly obvious, and there's one that I would dare say is probably in, I'll say this with caution, I would say none of you have any idea that you're actually losing control at this process. I haven't thought about it, that you're losing control at this other point of the process. The bleedingly obvious one is at the very beginning, when you interview that candidate. What the data has shown us over the last 2.5 years, and we've been watching this a lot more closely over the last 12 months, the consultants who perform best and provide the most amount of information to candidates up front in that interview outperform everyone else, obviously, at that stage of the process by feedback. The following stages where we collect feedback are pretty even. But the conversion to placement for the top consultants who get the top feedback on perm roles is over 2.5 times.
Okay.
That's over the last 6 months. That's over the last 6 months alone in pandemic data.
Okay.
Last 6 months, they're making 2.5 times more placements than the average.
Okay, so if you give more information to the candidate in that first interview, you are more likely to place that candidate.
Not 2.5 times more likely to place the candidate. You will make 2.5 times as many placements.
Right. Okay. So not necessarily
which is staggering. No, not necessarily that one, but overall. So we just to give you some transparency of how this looks from our process flow. So we collect data at 3 stages: when they interview with you, when they interview with the client and how you prepare them, and if you place them. The 2 second stages, or the 2 last stages, whatever you want to call it, of that process are pretty even by feedback scores. The difference of the top performing consultants by feedback is that first stage, and it's about 5% differential on score. That, though, has the impact to make 2.5 times as many placements. The more clear and concise information you give about the job, the company, the interview process, the hiring time that it's going to take, the culture of the business, how suitable they are for the role, that has an impact. Now, there's a scarier part. Contract is even worse or even better, depending on how you want to look at it. Those who perform the best make 3.6 times over the last 6 months as many placements.
Wow.
3.6. It's literally 3.6. It's 36 to 10.
Goodness. Okay. So, and it was only a 5% differential in the score.
It's about 5.91 or something on perm, and it's about 4.8, I think, off the top of my head. I can bring it up actually, just so I get it completely right.
Yeah.
Wrong report. If I can show you, how do I share my screen?
This is out of 100 as well, isn't it?
This is out of 100, yep. So the score was 97.48 for the top consultants, 93.56 for the average. So it's about 4, just around about that 4% difference.
Is that a screen you can show people, just so, because I know I'm like this with stats. If someone
how do I share the screen?
Click the box that says share screen. It's usually next
that would be obvious. Thank you. Share screen. Awesome. Okay.
And then you click the one that you
And
want.
then I click share.
If someone comes on and hold fire, Justin, I never get a word in edgeways here, but if someone shares stats with us, I'm always that one. Well, where'd you get that from? And prove it. And I want the evidence, as it were. So if we just have a look at where you're grabbing this information from, because that is so powerful.
I think the irony of all of that is that I have built a technology platform. I run a technology business. I couldn't find out where share screen was. So this is. Can everyone see my screen? Can you actually see
not
that?
yet.
Oh, right. Oh, well, that's even worse. I thought I shared it. I was about to go on. Clearly I should just stick to designing and not to anything that I'm actually doing. My entire screen, share.
Okay. It usually takes about 2 seconds to kick through, and then we usually sort of disappear off the screen and it will come on. But there is probably a button on the bottom right that you have to click again to say share.
Okay, let me see if I can. No, I'm clicking. How about I just share this with everyone afterwards so you can see it, because this isn't working.
Fantastic.
Technical challenges.
got some report stats, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got two infographics that actually break down all of this data. So it is real. It is the last 6 months worth of data, pandemic data, but it is quite staggering that impact is still being made through such a challenging time.
Definitely. And thank you for that. We'll share it with everyone in the gym, and we'll put it out because people need to know about this. That the more effort that you put in to briefing that candidate in that first interview and making sure they've got everything they need increases your potential of making placements by 2.5% and 3.5%.
No, you will make 2.5 times as many placements.
Yeah, that's fantastic, isn't it? Okay.
And it's not, to be fair, it's not that, look, first impressions count, right? It's cliched as it is.
Yeah.
But if you don't give that information to the candidate, how do you expect them to make a decision? If they've been given all of that information from someone else, from another agency or internally in-house applying directly, and you've given them squat, which way are they going to go?
Okay. Now you said that you lose it at the beginning of the
yes, the blind one that you might be missing. Yeah, there is a second one. Well, the greatest place in the process where you lose all control, all visibility, have absolutely almost no control over what happens next is when your candidate goes to interview with the client. They're out of your world. Then they're in theirs, and it's like Stranger Things. It's all upside down. Who knows what the hell's going to happen?
I had in my head, "She's out of my life," which is like an 80s song, and you went with Stranger Things. Much better. Stranger
Things. Upside down world. They're going to upside down world. They're going into a company where the hiring manager is now in control. Now, come on, please. We call them hiring managers. Why?
Because
it's the thing they can't do. They can't hire. They're pathetic at it. We know this. They know this.
You're amongst friends here, actually. As recruiters, it's one of our biggest bugbears, isn't it? The fact that the hiring managers, they might not have had any interview training at all. We have to help them. So how can we help them?
Why do they get... Sure, let's change their title. Let's stop calling them hiring managers and just the person we have to deal with. So... We can help them in a number of ways. We collect some feedback when the candidate goes and interviews with the hiring manager. What we've seen over the last 6 months is there's two real key areas that have fundamentally changed because the world has changed, that they are falling down on, what's a word that really, epically. There you go, epically. And it's not surprising, to be honest, when you look at the data. They can't describe the culture of the business. Guess what? It probably doesn't exist. Not the business doesn't exist anymore. It may not. Don't know why they'd be hiring though. But that culture of the business has completely changed. People are working from home. You're not sitting next to a friend or a colleague or whatever it might be. You're not going to lunch with people or Friday drinks. You might be doing it on Zoom, but it's not the same. Yeah. The other element that they're really falling down on is describing the benefits of working for the business. These two almost go hand in hand. So it's not surprising to see from the 5 questions we collect feedback on after that interview that these are the two of the worst performing questions. They are the 2 worst performing questions. So that benefit, explain company culture and how the candidate would fit in, and describe the benefits of working for the business.
Right.
So they really do go hand in hand. And the benefits of working for the business is the worst performing question.
Wow. Now, let me just stop you there, just to clarify. So this is the hiring manager is not explaining to the candidate during the interview why they should work there.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, the hiring manager probably doesn't know himself because, remember, he can't hire. So
moved on from that. We've moved on. We're helping them now.
I'm kind of stuck. So it's not too surprising to see these 2 questions go hand in hand in terms of poor performance. But the irony of this, and this is the scarier part from the data over the last 6 months, candidates, even though they're getting a poorer experience from hiring managers, are accepting the job at a greater rate.
Yeah.
So I get it. People have been let go. They get an opportunity. You jump on it. But is that the right thing for that business? For the candidate, it probably is because they need a salary, right? But down the line, what repercussion is that going to have? Can we get hiring managers, even though people need a job, to think forward and go, right, we still need to be pitching these things accurately, correctly, and even at all to ensure that stickiness of that candidate. Because I feel turnover might jump up more than expected, even though that's probably not what anyone predicts.
No, we've been talking about it for the last few months. If managers haven't been treating their employees right during this time, and if they're hiring people and they're not putting the effort in, then those people give it a better market. They're going to be going. They're going to be looking elsewhere, which does remind me, and I do want to put the details in because that was part of Neil Carberry's speech yesterday. The Recruitment Agency Expo is on, guys. It's on again today. Alex and I, we did our talks yesterday, but you can go back and you can actually watch all of those. So get on there. It's all free training, free information for the recruitment industry. What they haven't got, though, is your data, because I don't know of any other company that's actually recording from the candidate specific details on 5 questions about how the hiring manager actually treated them, what the process was like. I mean, this has been fantastic for those hiring managers as well, isn't it, to be able to give them that feedback?
Yeah, our clients are getting into that data now and going back into their HR business partners, wherever their main contact is, and actually identifying and sharing that data with them, showing not only how they're representing that business out in market, but how those hiring managers are somewhat complicating the process. So the stickiness of that hire, these people who are accepting these roles and have done so over the last 6 months are probably those companies' biggest flight risks. So that is a concern. That's something you can start educating your clients on now. Start forward planning this and even making sure the hiring manager gets it right from the start. Because the worst thing you can do is spend all that time and investment of 6 months getting someone in, getting them trained up, to then just have them turn around and leave when the market starts to shift a little bit again, because they had a bad experience from the start. That can stick.
Yeah, and actually no one wins out of that one then, does it? The client's not happy. The candidate's got a short point in their LinkedIn, but on their profile CV. See, I don't even say CV anymore. I say the LinkedIn profile. But actually, it can be explained away by COVID quite easily for them, can't it? But of course,
without knowing the data up front, it was already a fractured relationship.
Exactly.
So, and the worst thing from an agency perspective, imagine this happens at the 5.5 month mark or the 5 month mark, and your guarantee is 6 months.
Now, in UK,
have fun with that.
A lot of the guarantees are 3 months, so they might get away with
luck.
Right, so last question then.
Yeah.
Of this data that you've really been able to dig into this year, and obviously with the amount of clients you've got now, you're getting tens of thousands of information back here. Actually, how many reviews? Because I haven't had the update yet. How many reviews have you had now?
What are we up to overall?
Yeah.
38,500 plus.
Perfect. I love it. I love a data like that where we're gathering all of this information from thousands and thousands of people. So what surprises have you had this year, either good or bad, or both?
Oh, geez, I wasn't actually expecting that question. What surprises have we had?
What surprised you?
What surprised me? That's actually a really good question. I honestly actually think it's this last lot of data, the review of the hiring manager. And what I wish I could share the screen. I'll send this report around after. I'll send it to you, Angela. You can share it with everyone. That differential, when a score on our platform, just to give everyone some transparency here, 90 plus is considered pass out of 100. It's a pretty high standard. I was having a conversation actually with one of our clients this afternoon, and they were saying, we know that anything below 90 is bad. But if we tell our clients a score of 85 out of 100 is bad, they're not going to get it, because 85 out of 100 on any other metric is pretty good. You'd be really happy with that.
Yeah.
Nowhere near it on the data that we have. So what was surprising is specifically having a look at the last 6 months of data and seeing those candidates review the hiring managers of a score of 80 to 90. And the conversion rate to placement of January to March, let me just bring up the data so I know exactly what I'm talking about, so I get the numbers right, which I'll share with you all later. The conversion from 80 to 89, January to March, was 24.39% would convert to a placement.
Okay.
April to September, that time period also, January to March, had just under 3,000 candidate client interviews.
Wow.
April to September, there were just over 3,500 candidate client interviews. That score of 80 to 89, remembering 80 to 89 in January to March was 24.39. April to September, 37.5 converted to a placement.
So from a quarter to a third. So people are accepting those jobs. You can see
jumped up 50%.
Yeah. So
that's been the most surprising data to me. What was even, and just as bad, if not worse, actually, this is probably worse when you think about it. When they scored 70 to 79 January to March, it converted to a placement 12% of the time. But April to September, it converted 20% of the time.
Yeah, so that bears out that people are taking the jobs and
people are taking jobs because they need a job.
They wouldn't have done before. So we need to be prepared. So we always like to let people go away with an action from here. So my action, first and foremost, is work on your interviews with your candidates for briefings. And actually, if you're in the 360 program, guys, there's a briefing sheet of 21 things you should brief your candidate on. So that would help with regards to that. What would be your key action that you think people should be doing from your data?
Make sure the hiring managers are prepared for the interview. Make sure they understand how they're going to position the culture of the business, even though it's changed, which it invariably has, and what the benefits of working for the business are. Because if they can't sell the opportunity, well, the candidate could accept the job, as the data shows, but it might not be the best outcome.
Fantastic. So we got one for candidates, we got one for clients. Now, although I said we weren't going to sell Recruiter Insider, we're not, because
no, I don't know what you're doing.
In the UK, you're giving away free trials, aren't you, for the rest of this year? If they're with Bullhorn, or
we are being generous. We went to go live just before COVID, and it ruined the party. So we're kicking things off again. So yes, we are giving free trials to the end of the year. If you're on Bullhorn or JobAdder, where we have integrations, everything's automated. So you essentially don't need to do any more work. It's all automated. So if you're on Bullhorn or JobAdder, we'll give a free trial to the end of the year. You can get the data, see what you think of it, use it to your advantage, and then we have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and go from there.
Fantastic. And just to remind people, integration, what's your fastest ever integration that you've done so far?
It'd be pretty hard to beat these. I couldn't beat it these days. 1 minute.
1 minute. Takes one minute to integrate it. I love it.
There's no chance I could beat it anymore. There's no way. It wasn't even me that did it. It was a client.
But wonderful. Okay.
I just stood behind her and told her what to do, and she went to me miles an hour. And I purposely, I actually got the stop. I've got the image still. I stopwatched her, and there you go. It was a minute.
1 minute and it's integrated. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Justin. Always
pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
We'll get that data, we'll get the details, and maybe every quarter you come back and give us an update of what's going on in the market.
Yep. We've got that. We look at that data every quarter. So love to. That'd
be brilliant. Thanks ever so much for your time. Send me over that document. I'll get that out today to everyone. And remember, Recruitment Expo, get in there, guys. Get your free training, free information. I've said to Justin to get in there as well, because there's some great stuff on there. All right. Lovely.
Excellent.
See you
tomorrow.
Thanks,
everyone from Down Under.
Okay. Bye-bye.